am Bloodhound. You can call me Bloodhound.
What's going on, guys? Chameleon here. This is your ultimate guide to the original recon specialist, Bloodhound, aka Bloodhound. Who do you guys think is the best legend in the game? Leave me a comment below. But real quick before we start, please smash that like button, make sure you're subscribed to my channel with the notification bell on, and here we go. Let's do this. Bloodhound is an S tier legend, one of the best in the game. Hound specializes in tracking enemies, scanning them for intel, and then hunting them down. This legend is a solid choice for pubs, arenas, ranked, and he's even seen in competitive Apex as well, so you know Hound is a solid choice as a legend. Especially with the different ways this legend can be used. You can use Hound aggressively to push squads, use Hound to gather intel to make the right decisions, or find openings for you and your squad to take advantage of. Overall, Bloodhound is just super versatile and a lot of fun to use. He can be utilized by new players or the more advanced players too. But now let's get into the details of what Bloodhound can actually do, starting with the passive ability. Bloodhound's passive ability is a tracker, allowing the legend to see tracks of enemies who were recently in an area or specifically within 90 seconds of when they were last there. These tracks include all types of actions, including where enemies have moved, ziplined, opened doors, reloaded, and much more. Here's a key with some of the actions Bloodhound can track. As you can see, there's a lot of them. You can even ping these tracks so your teammates are aware of them. The tracks are color coded, so a recent track will be in red and an older track will be in gray, which is great because this way you won't even have to hover over the tracks to know roughly how long ago the enemy was there. If it's red, you should tread with caution. If it's gray, you can be a little more relaxed. This passive ability makes it perfect for avoiding danger and bad situations, or it's even really helpful in chasing down an enemy that's trying to get away. When you are tracking the enemy, be sure not to follow the tracks to the very end. I've seen a lot of people do this where they don't have their gun out as they get closer to the enemy, and by the time they come to the final tracks, the enemy has already spotted them and just lights them up. So as the seconds get smaller and smaller on the tracks, be ready for the fight. Also, keep in mind when you do ping these tracks for your squad, they still can't see how many seconds ago the tracks were made. So be sure to communicate this vocally to your teammates. Communication is always super important. You'll actually end up using this passive ability without even knowing it. It'll become second nature. And when you tie it in with your tactical ability, it only gets better. And speaking of, the Eye of the Allfather, Bloodhound's tactical ability. This ability is incredible. It allows you to scan in the direction you're facing, revealing traps or enemies for up to 3 seconds. It can even scan through walls, caustic gas, Bangalore smoke. Honestly, it makes you feel like you're using wall hacks. And Bangalore users, for example, might think they're safe in their smoke, but you know exactly where they are. You can even use this to pre-fire your enemies. This is really helpful when you're using a Havoc, for example, and have to deal with that initial delay before it starts shooting. The scan goes out up to 75 meters, but you can extend this by continuously moving forward after initiating the scan. A lot of new players will assume that the scan goes out in 360 degrees. However, unfortunately, it does not. The scan will shoot out in a 125 degree cone. So you'll need to angle it correctly to get enemies if they're either above you, below, or just straight ahead. The tactical takes 2 seconds to activate, and while you're using this, your weapon will be put away, leaving you defenseless. So make sure to use this scan at the right times, otherwise you could be caught in a bad situation. Also, the scan will recharge every 25 seconds, so make sure to keep that in mind when coming up with your plan of attack. The scan can detect a maximum of 10 hostiles at once, and any more than that will just display 10 plus. You won't really run into this situation often, but maybe when you're dealing with multiple mirages and his decoys, for example. When using the scans, make sure to be smart with it, because any enemies detected by the scan will receive a notification displaying the words sonar detected. So you want to be careful in utilizing this, since while it's helpful in finding enemy positions, it sort of gives away your position as well, with either the words on top, the orange wave it creates, or even the audio sounds. One of the safest times in my opinion to use a scan is right on the drop. Most likely whoever has dropped with you or around you already knows you're there. They should have seen you in the sky or heard you land, so scanning then will give you an advantage right off the bat without doing any real harm and giving up yourself. Sometimes when I get scanned by a Bloodhound enemy, I'll keep a mental countdown in my head of 3 seconds and start moving in the direction I don't want to go in until those 3 seconds are up. Then once that time's up, I go back in the direction I actually want to go in, because since I know they could see me for that time, I try to use that as a way to trick them with some misdirection. One of the biggest skill gaps in my opinion with new Bloodhound users versus more experienced Bloodhound users is simply knowing when to scan. There's a lot of ways to use it, but some of the best times are when you're about to start a fight, when you think you're potentially going to run into someone who might already know you're there, Or if you hear some footsteps around you and need to confirm you're not about to get ambushed, you could even scan in the opposite direction during the initial fight to ensure that a third party isn't rolling up on you from behind. The intel that Bloodhound scans and can provide is just so valuable to you and your squad. For example, if you scan a building and detect 3 hostiles, but one of them is on the top floor of that building away from the other 2, which are on a different floor, you can relay this information to your team and push that solo guy first to gain the advantage. Planning your attacks with the intel you find as Bloodhound will make the fights much easier. Just be sure not to use the scan in bad places such as out in the open, because the big orange wave it creates from the scan is really noticeable and can be spotted from afar. But aside from that, the Eye of the All-Father is absolutely an amazing tactical ability. Lastly, let's talk about Bloodhound's ultimate, the Beast of the Hunt. And activating this, you let out a big roar and become a full-fledged predator. This ult lasts about 30 seconds after being initiated and takes 180 seconds to recharge. It gives Bloodhound a 30% increase in speed, increases your FOV to 110, gives you thermal vision, which turns everything black and white except your teammates will be in blue and enemies will be in red, along with footprints being red as well. If you down someone while using this, it extends the duration of the ult by about 5 to 15 seconds. Also, this ult reduces the scan activation time to 0.9 seconds, and cooldown time now becomes 8 seconds, allowing for multiple scans while the ult is active. So mathematically, you can always get in at least 3 scans after popping your ultimate. And this is awesome, because even if you're not in the fight and have to fall back to heal or reload, you can keep these scans going to give your teammates a huge advantage over the enemies. Since you'll essentially be wall hacking for them, they'll really appreciate this. Basically, Bloodhound's ult combines speed and vision, making it perfect for combat. It lets you go in and attack your enemies and then quickly back off as needed. You can even use the ult when trying to escape a fast moving ring, or if you're trying to retreat and outrun enemies that are chasing you, the 30% speed increase will help you get away. One thing to keep in mind is when you do initiate the ult, the loud roar Bloodhound lets out can be heard, so be careful when you're using it if you're trying to be sneaky. Another way to use the ult is to scout with it. Since enemies are now in red, you can easily spot them from great distances to learn their locations. When you do this, it's best to get on a high building or even go up on a balloon to maximize your sight. Basically, the Beast of the Hunt can be used for multiple purposes and is a fantastic ultimate ability. One important thing to keep in mind is that Bloodhound is a recon legend, meaning you can utilize the survey beacons around the map to reveal the location of the next circle. This will take a total of about 7 seconds. Just pull up to it, plug in, and that's it. You'll now have an advantage in getting ahead of your enemies to secure a good position. So overall, as you can tell, Bloodhound is definitely an S tier legend. Where he does struggle a bit though is not having an ability to escape like Wraith or Loba, or even having an ability to lay down some cover for you or your squad. So if you run into a situation where you turn a corner and there's a squad just waiting for you, you're probably gonna die. But on the contrary, if you're using Bloodhound correctly, you shouldn't be able to be ambushed like that anyway. So go out there and give Bloodhound a try. Let me know what you guys think, and if there are any tips or tricks I missed, please leave them in the comment section below so we can all get better together. And that about wraps it up for this video. If this was helpful to you or you just enjoyed it, please smash that like button, make sure you subscribe to my channel with the notification bell on, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.